How do you use a pawn minority attack in chess? Imagine trying to weaken your opponent's defenses without directly attacking their king or major pieces. That's exactly what a pawn minority attack is all about. It's a strategic plan used in the middle game to create long-term weaknesses in your opponent's pawn structure. This tactic is especially common when you have fewer pawns on one flank compared to your opponent. For example, if you are playing white and your opponent has a pawn majority on the queen side with 3 pawns, you might have only 2. Instead of pushing all your pawns forward, you focus on pushing just a few, usually the A and B pawns, to challenge their B and C pawns. The idea is to provoke exchanges that leave your opponent with weak pawns, like backward or isolated pawns, which are easier targets later. Before starting the attack, you want to position your pieces on the right files. Rooks and queens should be placed on open or semi-open files where they can quickly support your pawn pushes. When you push your pawns, moves like a for and B for are common. These threaten to exchange pawns on the B and C files, forcing your opponent to respond. The key move is often B5, which can challenge their C6 pawn and cause exchanges. After the exchanges, your opponent might end up with a backward C pawn or an isolated pawn, which becomes a long-term target. Once these weaknesses are created, you can use your heavy pieces, rooks and queen, to pressure the weak pawns. For example, placing a rook on an open file that lines up with the backward pawn allows you to attack it repeatedly. Minor pieces like knights and bishops can also jump into positions that threaten these pawns or support your rooks. The goal is to make your opponent's pawn weaknesses into persistent problems that you can attack over time. Timing is important. You want to push your minority pawns when it's safe, not too early, and when your pieces are well placed. Watch for counterplay from your opponent, especially on the other flank or in the center. The minority attack is a slow, positional plan that requires patience and good coordination. It's often seen in openings like the Queen's Gambit declined or the Kar-O-Khan defense, where pawn structures naturally lend themselves to this strategy. In the end, the main idea is to turn a smaller pawn group into a weapon that disrupts your opponent's structure. By carefully advancing your pawns, exchanging at the right moments, and then attacking the weaknesses you create, you can gain a lasting advantage. Managing your pawn structures and timing your minority attack well can lead to strong positional control and open lines for your pieces to infiltrate. It's a smart way to turn a quiet pawn move into a powerful middle game plan.